The girl is in despair, but no one listens to her. The rest of the careerists are shocked by what happened. One of them starts talking to the others. It turns out that communication between them is not prohibited the rules. The men and women do not know each other's names, so they decide to address each other by nicknames: white, black, dark-skinned, brunette, blonde, brown-haired, and deaf, because this man does not respond to their conversations.
White stands up and walks around the room. The candidates are very preoccupied about understanding which question they need to answer. Perhaps it is written in watermarks or invisible ink.
The white man takes a sheet of paper in his hands. Left behind, disqualified by the Asian woman, he scribbles on it with his pencil. This also yields no results. What about the liquid? The white man tears up the Asian woman's sheet of paper, hands out the pieces to the other candidates, and advises them to wet them himself. At this moment, he unzips his fly. And what is that, after all, but liquid?
Although it would be easier to use saliva, in any case, no hidden symbols appear on the paper. The deaf man does not participate in the general discussion. This man is French. He constantly repeats the phrase, "You just need to see clearly," and sometimes starts crying. The dark-skinned man notices that the people in this room are not here by chance.
4 men and 4 women, all representatives of different races and cultural groups. They all have different personalities and professional skills. This selection was made for a reason. Perhaps it is some kind of strange experiment. But for what purpose? The candidates suddenly realize that they know practically nothing about the company they are going to work for.
Only the brown-haired woman has this information. It turns out that this corporation works in the healthcare sector and is engaged in prolonging life. Given the fact that there is a pandemic of an unknown virus in the world, everyone dreams of getting a cure for health and longevity. The brunette came to the company precisely for this drug. She needs to cure her best friend.
The woman approaches the guard and reaches into his pockets, where she finds only a lighter. The candidates realize that this room resembles a huge photo lab. Perhaps they will be able to develop the marks on the paper as if it were film, using a lighter and a sheet of paper. The brunette activates the fire alarm. Water pours from the ceiling, but again, nothing happens.
Not a single symbol appears on the paper. The brunette notices that her sheet of paper has disappeared. It turns out that for the arson, White gave her not Asian paper, but her own. This is a violation of the rules, and a formidable security guard immediately approaches the woman. She screams and swears. However,
she is still taken away from the room. The black man becomes furious. This is a very despicable act. At this moment, people realize that the room reacts to their words. For example, they can order the lights to be turned on or off, and this happens.
The deaf man cries again. With the help of cunning and manipulation, the white man forces him to tear up his piece of paper and put it in his mouth. Of course, the poor guy is immediately led away by the guard. On the way, he drops his glasses. Now there are 5 left. The white man is very pleased with himself. He has already gotten rid of 2 competitors.
The black man does not like such insolent behavior, and he hits the white man in the face. The man loses consciousness, and the other candidates tie him to a chair so that he will not bother anyone else. They stuff his own sock into his mouth. Now he won't be able to talk so much. After a while, White regains consciousness. After thinking for a moment,
the others take the sock out of his mouth. The man asks for a pill. The thing is, he is infected with the very disease the corporation is looking for a cure for. If he doesn't take the right medication in time, he will have a seizure, convulsions will begin, he will fall into a coma, and everything could end very badly. The white man loses consciousness again. The other candidates don't believe his words.
They decide to wait for the convulsions to see whether he is lying to them or not. The dark-haired man comes to the conclusion that the brown-haired woman is a secret observer from the company. She knows too much about the corporation. In addition, she is well-versed in human psychology. The blonde reminds them that they need to trust each other, otherwise they will all lose. But the dark-haired man has other plans.
He ties the brown-haired woman to a chair and demands that she tell him the whole truth. Then the woman confesses that she really works for this company. She wanted to get a new position, and that's why she ended up here. The dark-skinned man still doesn't believe her. He is ready to torture the brown-haired woman, but he notices red marks on her thigh.
It seems that this girl has had a very difficult life. The dark-skinned man hurts the brown-haired woman and pushes away the black man who stands up for her. He wants to hurt the girl again, but at the last moment he gives up. It seems that the brown-haired woman is really telling the truth.
The blonde hands her a Band-Aid. Soon, the white man begins to have convulsions. This man also was not lying to them, but one of the candidates took his pill. The men and women search each other. The brown-haired girl finds a capsule under the dark-skinned man's table. However, the man does not allow her to help the white man. They argue and drop the pill into the drain hole. Unfortunately, it is covered with a grate. The brown-haired woman despairs because the white man is getting worse. She looks at the camera and screams that one of the candidates needs help.
This is a violation of the rules, and the brunette is escorted out by security. Despite the panic, the blonde uses her hairpin to retrieve a pill from under the grate. She saves the white man. He regains consciousness, and the blonde unties him.
The white man is very aggressive. He rips off his tie and declares that there is no question. The question is the test itself. Only one of them should remain. The white man runs to the security guard for a gun, but the black man manages to stop him and take the weapon away. The men argue again and again. A fight breaks out between them, during which the white man manages to take the gun. Threatening with the weapon, he forces the other candidates to leave the room. The dark-skinned man is the first to leave, followed by the black man. The black man does not want to leave. He is also sick and needs medicine. Blonde woman then decides to leave. The blonde woman near the door activates the voice command, "Turn off the lights." In the darkness, the black man attacks the white man. Several shots ring out. The white man orders, "Turn on the lights."
The black man is wounded. He falls to the floor and closes his eyes. The white man notices that the blonde woman is still standing in the corner of the next room. However, the toe of her shoe is inside. He is ready to shoot her shoe. An audible signal sounds. Time. The test ends. Glass. The white man waits for the observer, but he does not appear. Then the man shouts that he has passed the test and won.
A guard approaches him and points to his wristwatch. It turns out the time has not yet run out. Before leaving the room, the deaf man pressed the button on the panel and started the accelerated countdown. White grabs the gun, but there are no bullets left in it. The man has violated the conditions, so the guard takes him out of the room. Only the blonde remains.
She goes back and picks up the glasses that the deaf man dropped. With their help, the woman finds an inscription on the sheet. Question 1. She remembers that before leaving, the observer asked if there were any questions. The deaf man enters the room and turns out to be the director of the corporation. The blonde approaches the deaf man, hands him his glasses, and replies that there are no questions.
The observer appears in the room. However, after everything she has been through, the blonde no longer wants to work for this company. She does not like the fact that people had to risk their lives for this position. Then, the observer asks the blonde to look more closely at the black man. The thing is that this man is actually alive.
The gun did not contain bullets, but capsules with a medicine capable of curing his dangerous illness. The observer says that producing such medicine is a very dangerous and risky process. So they were looking for an employee capable of working in the most extreme conditions. And they found such a person. Then the blonde shakes the deaf man's hand and accepts his offer.
4 men and 4 women must get rid of your...
It will be interesting to see how their rivals will respond to this.
Then dive into our review of the
Candidates prepare for the final.
The interview stage to get their dream job, unfortunately, only one of them will be lucky. Each of the young careerists is terribly nervous and ready to do anything to be chosen.
The time for the final test arrives. This is a special exam that is conducted in an isolated room filled with surveillance cameras. Each candidate sits at a separate table with only a pencil and a sheet of paper in front of them, with the word candidate and their serial number written on it.
An armed security guard enters the room, followed by a strict observer in a business suit, who announces the conditions of the final task for obtaining the coveted dream job. Candidates must answer only one question.
Candidates have 80 minutes, during which no laws or rules apply. The participant will be disqualified if they address the guard or observer, damage their sheet of paper, or leave the room. The observer asks if anyone has any questions and leaves the room. The countdown begins. The men and women turn over their sheets.
However, they are completely blank. The candidates are confused and look around in surprise. What should they do now? A young Asian woman picks up a pencil and begins to write about why she deserves this job. At that moment, a security guard approaches her and leads her out of the room. The fact is that she ruined her sheet.